This place should not support human life. Heat that can soften road surfaces, rain that might not fall for years, cities swallowed whole by sand. And if you walk in the wrong direction, the desert can kill you long before you realize you're lost. And yet, somehow, millions of people live here. Not just survive, live. They raise families, build cities, create cultures, preserve traditions older than entire nations. For thousands of years, people crossed this landscape carrying gold, knowledge, and ideas between continents. Some of history's richest cities rose here. Some of humanity's most impressive engineering took shape here. Some of the world's most overlooked civilizations endured here. So it raises a question. How? How do people thrive in a place that feels designed to prevent human life? Because the Sahara is not simply a desert. It's one of the greatest survival stories ever written. And almost everything you think you know about it is wrong. Most people picture the Sahara as one thing: sand, dunes, camels, a flat horizon dissolving into heat shimmer. That image isn't completely wrong, but it's incredibly incomplete. The Sahara covers roughly 9 million square kilometers, an area larger than the continental United States, stretching from the Atlantic Ocean to the Red Sea, crossing more than 10 countries, dominating an entire continent. And yet, sand makes up only a fraction of it. The Sahara contains mountains, volcanoes, ancient river systems, hidden freshwater reserves, cities older than many modern nations, and evidence of a lost world that sounds almost impossible. Because not long ago, geologically speaking, this entire desert was green. Hippos once lived here. Elephants, lakes, grasslands, rivers. Not nearby, not somewhere else in Africa. Here, in the middle of what is now one of the harshest environments on Earth. Which creates one of the great mysteries in African history. What happened? How does an entire ecosystem disappear? And how did the people who lived here adapt when it did? Those questions will take us across the Sahara, from hidden oases to lost libraries, from caravan kingdoms to ancient trade routes, from warrior cultures to forgotten pyramid builders, and eventually to a future where this same desert may help power the modern world. But first, we need to understand what the Sahara actually is. Because the desert most people imagine barely exists. Here's the first thing the Sahara wants you to understand. It's not flat. It's not one thing. From space, the Sahara can look empty. But the closer you get, the more complicated it becomes. Mountain ranges rise unexpectedly from the desert floor. Ancient river valleys cut through stone. Volcanic plateaus dominate entire regions. Massive gravel plains stretch farther than many countries, and between them lie the famous dune seas, the sand oceans that dominate the world's imagination. The Sahara is less like a single desert and more like several different worlds stitched together. Some of these mountains rise nearly 3,000 meters above sea level, high enough to create entirely different conditions: cold nights, seasonal vegetation, occasional snowfall, things most people never associate with the Sahara. Snow in the Sahara. The desert has always been more complicated than its reputation. But the greatest surprise lies in its past, because 11,000 years ago, this landscape looked almost unrecognizable. Lakes covered huge areas of North Africa. Grasslands stretched to the horizon. Animals migrated across land that today is completely barren. Human communities flourished near rivers that no longer exist. And rock art scattered across the desert still records that forgotten world. Elephants, giraffes, crocodiles, hippos. Animals carved into stone in places where they could never survive today. These carvings aren't imagination. They're evidence that this desert was once alive. Then the climate changed. Gradually at first, then relentlessly. Monsoon systems shifted southward. Rainfall declined, the lakes shrank, the rivers disappeared. Generation after generation watched the landscape transform around them. And eventually, the Green Sahara became the Sahara. Same land, different world. Yet the desert never completely erased its past. Ancient river channels are still visible from space. Rock formations still carry the scars of flowing water. Underground aquifers preserve rain that fell thousands of years ago. The Sahara remembers what it used to be, even if the surface no longer shows it. And maybe that's what makes this place so extraordinary. The Sahara isn't empty. It's layered. Every dune, every canyon, every mountain, every oasis, all of it holds traces of worlds that came before. But geography only explains part of the story. Because once the water disappeared, a far more important question emerged. How do people survive after the rivers are gone? The answer begins with a sound so valuable that entire civilizations were built around it. Water. There's one question that determines everything in the Sahara. Not politics, not borders, not wealth. Water. Because in a place where rain may not fall for years, every settlement, every trade route, every civilization exists because somebody found water where nobody else could. And some of that water has been hidden underground for hundreds of thousands of years. Which raises an uncomfortable question. What happens when it runs out? From above, an oasis looks impossible. A dense island of green floating in a sea of stone and sand. Palm trees, gardens, shade, life, surrounded by a landscape that seems determined to erase it. For thousands of years, travelers crossing the Sahara felt the same thing when they saw one. Relief. Not because the journey was over, but because the journey could continue. Without water, the Sahara becomes nearly impassable. With water, it becomes a network, a civilization, a world. The secret lies underground. Beneath much of the Sahara sits one of the largest freshwater reserves on Earth. An enormous system of ancient aquifers stretching beneath multiple countries. Some of this water fell as rain thousands of years ago. Some entered the ground before the pyramids existed. Some may be even older. Imagine drinking water that began its journey underground before recorded history. That isn't a metaphor. It happens here. For generations, Saharan communities developed systems to find water, transport it, and protect it. Not because they wanted to innovate, but because failure meant extinction. One of the most remarkable examples is the Foggara, a network of underground tunnels carved by hand, sometimes stretching for dozens of kilometers, designed to move water using nothing but gravity. No pumps, no electricity, no modern machinery, just engineering, patience, and generations of labor. The people who began these tunnels often knew they would never see the project completed, and they kept digging anyway. Because survival in the Sahara requires thinking beyond your own lifetime. There's a lesson hidden inside every oasis. The Sahara rewards those who understand it, not those who try to conquer it. For thousands of years, water turned impossible landscapes into thriving communities. But water did something else too. It created roads, and those roads would eventually connect entire continents. The Sahara looks like a barrier, but for over 1,000 years, it was one of the busiest highways on Earth. Trade routes spread across the desert, hundreds of paths, thousands of miles. And suddenly, the Sahara looks less like empty space and more like infrastructure. Most people imagine civilization growing around rivers: the Nile, the Tigris, the Euphrates, the Yellow River. The Sahara developed differently. Its highways weren't made of water. They were made of knowledge, knowing where the next oasis was, knowing where storms formed, knowing which route would kill you and which route would save you. The result was one of history's most important trade networks. Gold moved north, salt moved south. Ideas moved in every direction. For centuries, merchants crossed the desert, carrying fortunes worth more than entire kingdoms. And at the center of that network stood cities that most people today barely know existed. Today, Timbuktu sounds like the end of the world, a place so remote it became a joke. But 600 years ago, people crossed continents to get there. Scholars traveled thousands of kilometers. Merchants risked everything. Kings competed for influence, because Timbuktu wasn't isolated. It was connected to nearly everything. At its peak, Timbuktu became one of the world's great centers of learning. Its libraries held hundreds of thousands of manuscripts. Astronomy, mathematics, medicine, law, history. Knowledge produced, preserved, and studied in a place outsiders assumed was too hostile for civilization. Which makes the reality even more surprising. The city didn't become important despite the Sahara. It became important because of it. In some regions, salt was as valuable as gold. Not luxury, necessity. Without salt, food spoiled. Communities suffered, trade stopped, entire economies depended on it. So caravans transported giant slabs of salt across thousands of kilometers of desert. Every journey carried risk: storms, bandits, disease, navigation errors. One mistake could destroy everything. And still, the caravans kept moving, year after year, century after century. Then, something changed. The ocean arrived. Not physically, economically. European maritime trade routes began bypassing the Sahara. Ships moved goods faster, cheaper, safer. The caravans gradually disappeared. The trade routes faded. The wealth shifted elsewhere. and many desert cities entered a long decline. But the Sahara did something unexpected. It preserved them. Libraries survived. Architecture survived. Stories survived. Because the same environment that made life difficult also protected memory. And if there was one group that understood these roads better than anyone, one group capable of crossing landscapes that seem completely featureless, it was the people who became the masters of the Sahara, the Tuareg. And their story might be the most remarkable survival story in the entire desert. Most people see the Sahara as an obstacle. The Tuareg saw a map. For centuries they crossed one of the harshest environments on Earth with a level of confidence that seemed almost impossible. No roads, no signs, no GPS, just an endless horizon. Yet they could navigate it with astonishing accuracy. Which raises a question. How do you master a place that appears impossible to understand? The answer is simple. The Tuareg learned to read the desert. What looked empty to outsiders was filled with information. The shape of a dune, the direction of the wind, the movement of the stars. Every detail revealed where to go and where not to go. For generations, merchants trusted Tuareg guides with their lives, because crossing the Sahara wasn't about strength. It was about knowledge. One wrong decision could mean disaster. One correct decision could save an entire caravan. But the Tuareg didn't just survive the desert. They built a culture around it. Their identity was shaped by movement, trade, and adaptation. Men wore the famous indigo veil known as the tagelmust. Protection from sun and sand, but almost a symbol of belonging. They preserved their own ancient writing system, Tifinagh, which remains in use today. And while many desert kingdoms disappeared, the Tuareg endured, because they understood something most people never do. The Sahara is not conquered, it's understood. That lesson allowed the Tuareg to thrive where others struggled, turning one of the world's most unforgiving landscapes into a homeland. And their story reveals a larger truth about the desert itself. The people who survive here aren't the strongest. They're the ones who learn how to listen. But even the Tuareg would eventually face a challenge that navigation alone couldn't solve, because the future of the Sahara would no longer depend on crossing the desert. It would depend on building within it. Every city in the Sahara faces the same enemy. Not war, not invasion, not politics. Sand and time. The desert is patient. It doesn't attack all at once. It advances grain by grain, year after year, century after century, until entire neighborhoods disappear. Few places show this better than Chinguetti, founded centuries ago as a center of learning and religion, a gathering point for travelers crossing the Sahara. a city built on the edge of one of the world's most hostile landscapes. At its height, caravans arrived carrying scholars, merchants, and pilgrims. Knowledge accumulated here. Libraries expanded. Ideas spread. The city flourished. And today, some of those manuscripts still survive, protected inside family libraries, handwritten records passed from generation to generation. Fragile, ancient, irreplaceable. But the desert never stopped moving. Entire sections of Cinquetti have already been abandoned. Buildings still stand, doorways still show, yet the streets themselves are disappearing beneath the sand. A slow-motion battle between civilization and geology. And geology never gets tired. Other cities tried different solutions. Quardain climbed higher, built on rock instead of sand, using elevation as protection. Its builders understood something important. If you cannot stop the desert, you must adapt to it. The result was architecture designed for survival. Narrow streets, deep shade, thick walls, cooling built into stone, centuries before air conditioning existed. Every decision solved a problem. Every stone had a purpose. In some regions, people went even further. They moved underground. Entire communities carved homes directly into the earth. Temperatures stayed stable. Protection from heat became effortless. The desert above became almost irrelevant. Then there's Timgad, a city built by Rome itself. At its peak, it represented one of history's most powerful civilizations. Roads, theaters, markets, public baths. Everything Rome believed civilization should be. Then Rome disappeared. The city was abandoned, and the Sahara buried it. But here's the irony. The same sand that destroyed Timgad also preserved it. Once buried, the city became protected from weather, protected from development, protected from time itself. The Sahara destroys. The Sahara preserves, often at the same time. And nowhere is that contradiction more visible than in the cities it swallowed. But while cities struggled against the desert, one place discovered something powerful enough to challenge it. A river. A river so important that an entire civilization built its religion, economy, and identity around it. The Nile. And its story changes everything. There was only one force powerful enough to challenge the Sahara. Not an empire, not an army, a river, the Nile. And without it, one of the greatest civilizations in human history never exists. From space, the contrast is almost unbelievable. A narrow ribbon of green cutting through an ocean of desert. Life on one side, barren wilderness on the other. Sometimes separated by only a few steps. Yet for thousands of years, that thin corridor sustained millions of people and transformed one of Earth's harshest environments into the center of a civilization. The Nile didn't simply support Egypt, it created it. Every year, floodwaters brought fertile soil from distant highlands, turning dry land into farmland. In a region where survival should have been nearly impossible, the river provided food, stability, and predictability. Entire cities rose along its banks. Agriculture flourished, trade expanded, monuments appeared. The Nile became the foundation on which Egypt was built, and nowhere was that relationship more visible than at the edge of the river itself. One step toward the Nile meant life. One step away meant desert. For ancient Egyptians, that contrast shaped the way they understood the world. The river became a symbol of life. The desert became a symbol of eternity. And that idea still echoed through some of humanity's most famous monuments. The pyramids, built where fertile land ended and the desert began, standing at the boundary between life and the unknown. More than 4,000 years later, they're still there. A reminder of what people can build when they learn to work with their environment instead of against it. But Egypt wasn't the only civilization shaped by the Nile. Farther south, another kingdom emerged, one that most people have never heard of: Kush. Its rulers built hundreds of pyramids. Its queens confronted the Roman Empire. And for centuries, it rivaled the powers around it. Yet today it remains largely forgotten, which reveals one of the Sahara's greatest secrets. Some of history's most remarkable civilizations aren't lost, they're simply overlooked, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to look closer. Because the Sahara rarely gives up its stories easily, and some of the greatest ones remain buried beneath the sand. For most of history, the Sahara was something people crossed. Today, it's becoming something people plug into. The same sunlight that made survival difficult may become one of humanity's greatest resources. The Sahara receives extraordinary amounts of solar energy. Day after day, year after year, across millions of square kilometers, which inspired an astonishing idea. What if the desert helped power the world? Projects like Morocco's Noor solar complex offer a glimpse of that future. Vast fields of mirrors, advanced energy storage, gigawatts of electricity, modern engineering operating inside one of Earth's oldest landscapes. For the first time in history, parts of the Sahara are being seen not as obstacles, but as assets, not empty space, potential. And there's another story unfolding, one far more concerning, because the Sahara is growing. It has expanded significantly during the last century. Pressure on the Sahel continues increasing. Rainfall patterns are shifting. Land is degrading. Populations are rising. Environmental stress is tightening. The edge of the desert is becoming one of the most important ecological frontiers on Earth. In response, Africa launched one of the most ambitious environmental projects in human history, the Great Green Wall, a vision stretching across the continent, thousands of kilometers long, designed to restore damaged land and strengthen communities. Will it succeed? Nobody knows. Some areas have shown remarkable progress. Others face enormous challenges. The outcome remains uncertain, and uncertainty creates urgency, because the future of millions depends on what happens next. For thousands of years, people adapted to the Sahara. Now humanity faces a new challenge. Can we adapt quickly enough to the changes happening within it? The answer remains unwritten. For thousands of years, outsiders looked at the Sahara and saw absence. Too hot, too dry, too empty, too hostile. But the people who live here see something different. Possibility, knowledge, home. They learned where water hides, how knowledge survives, how to navigate uncertainty. how entire civilizations can disappear from memory without disappearing from history. The Sahara teaches a lesson modern societies rarely encounter. Comfort is not what creates resilience. Constraint does. The people who survived here were never simply the strongest. They were the most adaptable, the most observant, the most patient. They learned to read stars, to follow hidden water, to think in generations instead of years, to build where others saw impossibility. And perhaps that's the real secret of the Sahara. Not survival, transformation. Because every civilization that succeeded here learned the same lesson. The desert is not something you conquer. It's something you understand. The Sahara is not remarkable because nobody should live here. It's remarkable because people do. And somehow, they always find a way.